What's up, everyone? This is Movie and Game Lover 98, and today I'll be doing a movie review on this Universal movie from 1989, and it's the sequel to the first Back to the Future, and that's Back to the Future Part 2. So, yep, let's get started, and I hope you guys enjoy this movie review. And hopefully I can remember this correctly. So, yep, here's what my set looks like. The history on Back to the Future Part 2, yeah, the second Back to the Future, as I'm going to say, it came out to theaters the same month in Thanksgiving time, 1989. Yes, November 1989, just about 5 days after The Little Mermaid came out in theaters. So that's kind of a cool thing to make them release almost at the same time. And then it was released onto VHS in 1990. Well, because it makes sense, because this film is from November 1989. And yep, it was released onto VHS again, I think, well, also on Laserdisc, I think, well, in these releases in the 90s, 1991, 1995, and 1998, the same year I was born, 98. And then it was released onto VHS one more time in 2002, along with the other two, well, along with the other ones, as well as being on DVD for the first time in 2002. And then it was released onto a Blu-ray trilogy, the 25th anniversary one from 2010, or as this is my set as the 2011 version. And then it was released to commemorate the 30th anniversary of Back to the Future on both DVD and Blu-ray in a 3-movie trilogy in 2015. And then it was released, well, once more in 2020 in a trilogy set, along with Back to the Future and Back to the Future Part 3, which will be, actually, it's going to be my next movie review. And yep, I think that was all the dates. Well, I think to commemorate the, what was that? Would that be the 45th anniversary? No. I think that's the 35th anniversary. 35th, yeah. I was going to say 40th, but, well, Back to the Future is coming up on 40 years old. And yep, I'm pretty sure that was it. So yep, that was the history. Now let's look at my set, then we'll get in with the plot of Back to the Future Part 2 this time. So yep, here's what my set looks like. You know what it looks like. Well, you know what it looks like, so now we're doing this for Back to the Future Part 2. Yep, here's what it looks like. You know what it looks like for all the movies. But now let's look at the running time for Back to the Future Part 2. It says it's 1 hour and 49 minutes, or as usually we like to call it, 109 minutes long. Yep, there's bonus features. We all know what they are. Yep. Oh, my camera went out of focus. Well, you know what it looks like. So let's just look at the discs. Sorry. Yep, there's the clear disc for Back to the Future Part 2. Take the disc. Well, if you see the disc in the back, you see Marty and Dr. Emmett Brown. And yep, there it is. It just has Part 2 on it in Roman numerals. Yep, there's the extras on Back to the Future Part 2. So yep, let's get in with the plot of Back to the Future Part 2. It takes place after the events of the first Back to the Future, where this time Dr. Emmett Brown takes Marty and his girlfriend Jennifer to the actual future. Like, in the current timeline, they're in the year 1985, but they go 30 years into the future to 2015, where they notice that during the time when they go there, they notice things are different in the future. But then they all of a sudden, something's go wrong, and it causes Jennifer to fall asleep when she runs into her future self, and it causes Marty's dad to also say in the newspaper that he's been murdered instead of being honored. So basically what they have to do, just like in the first one, instead of having to fix George's date, what they have to do in this one so that they know he's not been murdered, instead of he's going to be considered honored in the newspaper, Marty and Dr. Emmett Brown go back to the past like they did in the first one, but this time save the magazine from being Well, they have to burn down the magazine to prevent that from any of that happening. So, yep, that's really the basic plot of Back to the Future Part 2. What do I think of Back to the Future Part 2? Obviously a classic because it's just worth watching because it's another one of their best movies from 1989. Yep, one of the best movies of 1989 along with Disney's The Little Mermaid and something else. So, yep, I think Back to the Future Part 2 is a great sequel to the original. If I had to rank it, absolutely 5 out of 5 stars. It's worth for what it was, and the screenplay is great, yes. We all know that because this is a real life movie. It's a real people movie. And the cast does an amazing job for some of the originals and some new additions as well. And also, some musical numbers are great because, a lot of people like the 80s music. They don't prefer 2010s music, and yeah. So, yeah. And everything else was great. The action scenes were decent as well. And even, going back to a past event in the previous film, but just doing it differently. Everything else was cool. So, yep. I say Back to the Future Part 2 is worth watching to every fan who likes the Back to the Future trilogy. So anyways, yep, that's going to be it for this movie review everyone on Back to the Future Part 2. Yep, I hope you guys liked it, and if you guys have not seen Back to the Future Part 2, definitely worth giving a watch. Yeah, it's worth watching, and I'm sure you guys will get a taste out of it. So anyways, yep, that's going to be it for this movie review everyone on Back to the Future Part 2. If you guys have not seen this sequel, definitely give it a try. But if you guys have seen this along with the first one, that's totally cool. Because I know everyone's have seen Back to the Future movies. Yeah, everyone has pretty much seen all the Back to the Future movies, and yeah. So anyways, yep, that's going to be it for this movie review everyone on Back to the Future Part 2. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this movie review, and stay tuned for the next movie review, which I was going to say, we're going to be doing Back to the Future Part 3 as the next movie review. So stay tuned for that movie review coming up next, everyone. And hopefully it'll be interesting, because you'll see why in the next movie review on Back to the Future Part 3. So yep, stay tuned for the next movie review coming up soon, everyone. Yep, the next video is going to be the next movie review on Back to the Future Part 3.